Is it bad that going into this video, I wasn't entirely sure what art lore is? Well, okay, I knew the gist of what it is, but even after doing my research for this topic, I still want to know one thing. Why is it called art lore? Is it some form of lore for a story with a strong focus on the arts as a world-building or thematic centerpiece? Or some art historians' attempt at chronicling every major art happening ever? Well, maybe someone actually is doing that last one and we might not know it yet, but that's neither here nor there. Art lore is supposedly some term that people on TikTok specifically like to throw around whenever something crazy happens in the art community. If you go on TikTok, you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of videos in the art lore tag, some hopping on the trend while others are rightfully calling it out. Because beneath the unassuming name lies a trend where artists who don't know any better will go after other artists for literally the smallest thing. And that smallest thing might not even be problematic at all. Of course, I'll get to this in more detail later. I'm not a drama channel, and I don't usually talk about this sort of thing, but this whole art lore phenomenon has been on my radar on and off for like 2 years now, and I've wanted to make this sort of video for a while. I did look up some YouTube videos on the topic, but the majority of my research was done in the pits of TikTok itself. Maybe you could call it a commentary on art lore while doing a sort of deep dive and broadening my understanding of the mess behind the mess. So if you're new here and you want to see me make sense of all this, then make sure to like and subscribe. And strap your butts in, because here we go? Let's start at the beginning. What even is art lore? To get an idea, let's consult a site that I used to frequent many times in my high school days. Know Your Meme. According to its dedicated page on the site, art lore is a phrase that refers to drama in art and animation communities, mostly on TikTok, regarding problematic artists and their creations. Art lore is associated with a trend where artists criticize other artists' drawings that they deem problematic, whether they're racist, bigoted, etc. People will typically post videos tracing over the original art, claiming to fix it or recreate the original video, showcasing the art in a mocking way. The trend was popularized on TikTok in November and December of 2022. That's the basic definition down, but why is it called art lore? Why is it that every time some new crazy happening happens in the TikTok art community, no wordplay intended, at least one person writes, "Art lore," or "New art lore just dropped," in the comment section? I'm honestly not sure, and I can't really think of a reason why, other than some people in the community just don't have tact, unfortunately. And I'm not even sure how it came to be called art lore in the first place. According to some sources, including Know Your Meme as I said, the term only came into being around 2022. But I've also heard that prior to that, the trend of calling out problematic artists didn't really have a name. I can only guess how the community settled on calling it art lore specifically and not art drama or whatever. Maybe it's because whenever the newest drama or discourse happens on TikTok in particular surrounding an artist and their contribution to the art world, the original post and the reception that follows makes enough waves to be securely documented in the annals of social media art community history. Or something. Maybe that is the reason why, but again, I'm not an art lore historian. Just a silly artist who wanted to talk about something that's been on her radar for a while. And actually, I might also bring this topic up again in another video that I want to make about the impact of social media in the art community. Because what seems to have originally been a means to call out problematic artists has turned into a means to bully other artists, typically beginners, over something that is usually insignificant. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me pull up some examples of just how bad the bullying has gotten on that site. If you saw my video on art regression that went up earlier this month, you may recall that I mentioned what happened to a TikTok user called Cassipillar. To give you the TLDR, about a month ago they participated in a trend where one would post their old and new art side by side to showcase the difference. Many people said their newer piece was a case of art regression and went after them to the point where they left TikTok. I'm not sure if this situation is officially documented by the community as art lore, but from everything I understand about the topic of art lore as a whole, it seems to fit in line with the whole trend of people without brain cells going after artists for not meeting their standards. And this only seems to be the tip of the iceberg. In fact, it's become so much of a problem that there are multiple people on TikTok that have expressed their fear of becoming the newest subject of the art lore horror train. But I'll get to that later. The examples that I'll be talking about will borrow from more well-known cases of art lore, and also from things that I have seen personally while I was conducting my research for this topic, ranging from problematic things that have been posted to TikTok to just outright cyberbullying. I won't be going into detail on everything I find for the sake of convenience, and again, I'm not a drama channel. I haven't witnessed any of these events go down firsthand because I'm not on TikTok that much, which is probably a good thing, so I'm just going on information that I have found in my quest to better understand the art lore phenomenon. Nevertheless, prepare yourselves, people of YouTube. It's time to go down the rabbit hole. Let's start with one of the more famous examples. Around 2021, a user by the name of Croquette posted a video on how they render their drawings. You can see that the character's eyes are a little higher than they should be, which isn't bad on its own and can be fixed with practice. Now, you would think that the reception and the comments would be more constructive than they actually were. You'd be wrong. Many people posted videos making fun of Croquette's original post, purposefully making the eyes higher than the rest of the face as a form of mockery. I've also heard that people would comment rendering process on other people's videos if they didn't like that person's art style. Much like the Cassipillar situation, it got so bad that Croquette also left TikTok. And allegedly, to this day, some people still post the rendering process comment. Actually, I shouldn't say allegedly, because even on Croquette's Instagram account, there are multiple people commenting the same thing. It's been 3 years. You aren't the hilarious and original folks you think you are. I do want to say, though, Croquette themselves has improved a lot over the last 3 years. Assuming this is, in fact, their Insta account. And honestly, their newer stuff looks really cool. I'm glad that they were able to keep drawing in spite of the unwarranted backlash they received for that one video, and hopefully one day people will have the sense to stop bringing up the rendering process stuff in a negative manner. You're not a genius if you do something like that. That's cringe. Anyway, the next case of harmless content getting poor reception that I want to talk about is a video from a user called Moni, who made a video showcasing how they draw hands. The video was uploaded in 2023, and as of writing, has almost 3 million views. Even though it was just a simple drawing showcase, I think you can guess what went down in the comment section. Some were constructive, pointing out the proper finger lengths when one usually draws hands, as well as the width of the arm. And seeing constructive criticism is always a good thing. But as for the rest... SpongeBob hands. So close! That's a rake. I smell the art lore coming in. Is that a foot? Is the hands in the room with us? The confidence. 1, 2, art lore is coming for you. Dee. Chat, is this the original? And so on and so forth. In all, more than 15,000 comments were posted on the original video, and I found it shocking just how many of them were negative. But it's TikTok, so I really should not be surprised by the amount of toxicity on there. I even came across a video making fun of the original post, and the person making the parody video even boasted about it. Now that's what I call yikes. Moni themselves has been inactive since 2023 as of this video going live. Officially, it was because their parents wouldn't allow them to have a TikTok account, but I wouldn't be surprised if the negative reception to their video was a partial contributor to that outcome. This last example is one that I could only find parody/satire videos on. I don't know if the original is still up, but it's something I found while researching and felt like it needed to be mentioned. The video starts out with a simple drawing of an entire group of people surrounding a single person identified as the new student. According to the caption, the new student appears to be in a prime position to become the designated class artist. But far away from the crowd is another member of the class, who is determined to keep their spot as the class artist. However, I can only imagine the original uploader's artwork wasn't at the standard of the people who chose to make parody videos, as the videos I saw featured art that can be perceived as more at a beginner level. Likely done that way on purpose in the parody videos as a form of mockery. I think it goes without saying that going after artists for no reason other than the fact they're not at a professional level yet, or they have an art style you might not be a fan of, is... bad. Very bad. As the saying goes, art is subjective. Everyone has different stylistic tastes, and you can't please everyone. And this should also go without saying, but we shouldn't be holding beginner artists up to professional standards like the people who love to comment art lore seem to be doing. They're beginners. Of course, their art isn't going to be as polished as someone who's been at the craft for far longer. Let beginners live. If you're going to pick on a beginner artist or a younger artist for something that you don't like about their art style, then I'm gonna have to ask you to stop it. Get some help. Now, art lore isn't just about bullying beginner or younger artists. As I understand it, it was originally a thing that happened whenever someone would post a video with problematic aspects, like racism, homophobia, and questionable sibling relationships, just to name a few things. This also includes that one person who got friend-zoned by their aromantic friend and then proceeded to shade all aromantic people in a follow-up video or two. At least I'm certain they were shading aromantic people if I recall correctly, but whatever the case may be, that's really not a good look. And if you ask me, people who post genuinely heinous and problematic content are the ones who should be getting the heat that I've seen scrolling through these videos, and not beginner artists who are just learning the fundamentals and, art gods forbid, aren't drawing like Da Vinci on day one. I know, what a shocker. Which brings me to the more problematic content that I came across while doing my research. This should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway. I don't condone any of the stuff that I'm about to bring up with the next two videos. And even though one of these posts touches on a questionable sibling relationship that I mentioned a few seconds ago, I won't go into too much detail on that video specifically. I'm bringing all of this up in an educational context. So with that out of the way, let's get to a couple of videos that are actually problematic. Let's first talk about the color picker challenge video that went viral earlier this year. You may have seen the color picker challenge where people get random colors for a character design, whether that's for hair, skin, or clothing. They then design a new character based on the colors they got. Well, in February, what is probably the most infamous video to come from this trend made the rounds on both TikTok and Twitter, along with some other sites, I'm sure. The video features a drawing of Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus, and it starts off on an interesting note. The skin color is up first, and for a moment it seems like the person is going to get a darker skin tone. But at the very last moment, they move their stylus in favor of a lighter skin tone instead. As a result, the comment section this time around used their collective wrath for good and called the original poster out on their whitewashing BS. And the video certainly didn't get spared when it made the rounds on Twitter either. A couple of people suspected the video of being rage bait. I can't even be sure myself, but somehow I doubt it with the way they moved their stylus at the last possible moment. And this isn't the only instance of the user doing this either. I found multiple videos of the user doing the magic stylus maneuver, or whatever you want to call this. There's even one video of them picking one skin tone and making the character even lighter with the finished product. Whitewashing aside, there's a couple more things I found on their account that made me raise my eyebrows at least once. The user has done multiple other color picker challenges, but there was at least one where they used generative AI for the finished product. Yeah. Now, the user has posted a couple of color picker challenge videos where they do go with a darker skin tone, but quite a few of the comments have called it damage control. Which... okay, it's one thing to grow and change as a person, but given the timing of those particular videos, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. Like some of the other videos I mentioned, the original video is still up and has around 10 million views as of August 29th, 2024. This next one is also really bad, I won't lie. It's one that I discovered fairly recently, during my super fun research time in fact. The video I found was a repost, but it shows the original poster confessing to seeing her brother in a way that's... let's just say it's questionable at best and horrifying at worst. Again, I'm not sure what I can and can't go into detail on for the sake of the monetization gods, but it's certainly not your usual sibling relationship. The person's friend rightly calls out their behavior, despite the word fake being written where their eyes should be. In response, the person is hurt by their friend's statement, maybe even offended, despite being called out for their problematic behavior. The words alone, broken, and freak then appear in place of their own eyes. Again, I'm not gonna go into detail for a number of reasons, but you don't just confess to having those kinds of feelings for a family member. Especially your brother, and then expect normal people to take your side. And why would you even confess to something like this on the internet where everyone can see it? Not only that, but apparently they had these kinds of feelings for their brother since they were 5? I can't tell if this one actually is bait, but either way, this isn't a subject that should be handled in this kind of fashion, especially on the internet. Whatever the case may be, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop it. Get some help. I think I already said it, but I'm saying it again. Okay, heavier subjects aside, let's now get to the last example I want to talk about. Actually, this video isn't problematic on its own, or so I've heard, since I did hear the original uploader had good intentions while making this video, or at least their intentions weren't outright bad. I'm not 100% sure. But it certainly got skewed in a bad way by the TikTok community at large and backfired immensely. The original video by a user called Stars shows the face of an individual, probably their persona, looking at something off-screen in a very concerned manner. The caption in the video reads, "Me looking at other people's art after learning anatomy." Now, I can understand where they were coming from, but I can also understand how this video backfired in the first place. Once you learn anatomy, it can be an experience seeing others make the same mistakes that you used to make. But then again, there's always room to play around with anatomy after you've gotten a good grasp of it. But this sort of caption can easily get skewed into coming off as condescending, or even putting down other artists whose anatomy isn't up to scratch yet. And that is exactly how people took it. Cue the proliferation of parody videos. As I said, we should call out content that is genuinely problematic in nature, but I've noticed that when it comes to the subject of art lore, it's become a symbol of an absolute cesspool of toxicity and tactlessness. I did mention that I saw people on TikTok expressing concern that they'll be the next target for the wrong side of the art community, and it's honestly sad to see, because nobody should have to live in fear of getting blasted for the wrong reasons. However, amidst all the videos and the satire posts and all the other bad stuff, there are a few who are rightfully calling out those who are bullying other artists. If you look up art lore on TikTok, not the hashtag, you'll see several videos as the first few results, all of them commenting on the toxicity of the trend. In fact, one video states, "You know you can say nice things instead of art lore, and oh, that's not." And I agree. I said this in my art regression video, but I'll say it again. We shouldn't be going after other artists if their art isn't perfect, or if they're not drawing like one of the Renaissance masters. Especially if they're beginners. Even though I think that there will always be one or two bad apples, as much as I wish it wasn't true, we should be supporting other artists and giving constructive criticism that will actually help them improve, as opposed to, "New art lore just dropped. Art lore is coming for you. Why is the face like that?" and so on. This whole thing does strike a nerve in some way, because even though many people have been supportive of me and my art journey over the years, not everyone had nice things to say, and unfortunately, like the people who love to comment art lore on a beginner artist's video, those people didn't know how to keep their mouth shut. You know who you are. So with all of that out of the way, what did I find while researching this topic more fully, and what have we learned here? First and foremost, people on TikTok have no chill. Having seen all of the examples I mentioned in this video, along with many more that I didn't get to mention, there are multiple reasons why drama or discourse might pop up in the art community once in a while. As I mentioned, sometimes problematic content becomes the center of the newest wave of drama, and that kind of content should be called out. But it seems like at least half the time, people are going after those who aren't deserving of that kind of negative attention in the first place. We shouldn't be listening to the people who poke fun at artists who might not be as experienced or who are younger, or even professionals who may have an art style that someone else doesn't like. Or, at the very least, we shouldn't let those kinds of comments get to our heads. Because if we don't find a way to curb the toxicity that's been festering on places like TikTok, more and more artists will be driven away from posting their art on social media, or even worse, be driven away from the arts entirely. And this is honestly something that shouldn't be normalized and not the kind of community that should be fostered in the first place. And besides, some people are targeting beginners as if they were never beginners themselves, which... honestly, I think that one speaks for itself. But as for why it's called art lore, I confess I may still be stumped on that one, but that doesn't change my stance on the issue as a whole. After all, I fear no man. But this right here, that scares me. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. If you like this video and you want to see more art-related videos and shenanigans from me, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I post new videos every other Friday, usually about drawing or what have you, but sometimes I dabble in other art-related things as well. If you want to support me further, please check out my other social media accounts, as well as my Ko-fi and my Etsy shop, which are all in the description. And lastly, if you made it this far, leave a light bulb emoji in the comment section below. And remember to keep things civil in the comments, or I will put a whoopee cushion in your chair when you least expect it. And yeah, that's about everything. Thanks for watching.